So thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, everyone. Colleen Galvin with Mastercard's North American Small Business Team. It's nice to be with you all again. Very excited to introduce my colleagues, Mercedes Garcia and Jimmy Chow from Mastercard North America's Community Relations Team. They're going to be walking you through today some really valuable information about getting your digital and financial capabilities in order as a business owner, as a consumer, making sure that things are managed well in both buckets. They have some great tips for looking for digital payments partners and lots of good information to share. To start with Mercedes Garcia, she has been with Mastercard for nearly 30 years, has done a number of important roles in this company, including starting her career with Mastercard in Venezuela, has worked in the product group, and has really spent the last several years in community relations as the Vice President of Community Relations, helping to educate consumers and small businesses about everything that Mastercard does in communities across the U.S. Her partner in crime, Jimmy Chow, our Director of Community Relations, has been with Mastercard since 2016. Jimmy started in an HR talent development role, so also has had different roles within the company, and works again to educate youth, adult consumers, and small businesses on ways that we can ensure as a company that communities like yours have the highest level of economic empowerment and equity. So very excited to turn the floor over to my expert colleagues here. And with that, I'll ask Mercedes to start the presentation.
Hi, thank you so much, Colleen. As Colleen said, I'm here with my partner in community relations, or partnering in financial education, Jimmy Chow, and very excited for this opportunity. So hopefully we have new things for you to learn or to reaffirm certain things that you already know. And well, feel free to write in the chat or in the Q&A, and Jimmy will be monitoring the questions just in case there's one that it's important to respond to as we are presenting. Otherwise, we'll have enough time at the end, okay? So the first thing I would ask you is, so what do you think when you hear the word MasterCard? What comes to your mind? We already know most of the time what comes to people's mind, but so what do you think? Do you want to quickly just put something in the chat? MasterCard. So who is MasterCard? What these people do? So do we have any responses there? Okay, don't be shy. This is an interactive. Yes, we're warming up. This is an interactive session, so please, it's just chatting among friends. Okay, I think there's a couple there. So what do we have, Jimmy?
So we have an answer here. It says credit cards.
Credit cards. Yep, I saw that one too. One more. Anybody else that thinks that it's something that is not exactly a provider of credit cards?
Now I see 4 credit cards.
Oh, credit cards. Okay, well, first thing to learn today, Mastercard is not a credit card company, as most people think. So Mastercard is a global technology company, and we are in the payments industry. So we do not give cards to people. The banks do that. And the banks, we provide a franchise to the banks to issue our cards, even if it's a prepaid card, a debit card, or a credit card. So Mastercard does not give cards to people. And neither Mastercard sign merchants to accept payment cards. There's other types that we're going to talk a lot about that one, called another type of entities called either acquiring banks or processors, and they are the ones that set up the merchants to accept payment cards. So we are just the technology behind that. We are the network through which the transactions, fly from one place to the other. As I'm sure you know, that happens in fractions of seconds around the world. So that's among many other things, that's what we do. So we work to reshape the digital economy and ensure that people, financial institutions, government, small business owners or big businesses, etc., can work together and connect to do business. Okay. So we also try to do things safe, especially simple, smart, and accessible to everybody. But something we're going to be talking about today as well is financial empowerment. So what does that mean to you? Financial empowerment. So we looked it up a little bit. There's different interpretations from for people about financial and empowerment. So what we found was empowerment is, it's the process of increasing the capacity of somebody making choices and transforming their choices into actions, right? And financial empowerment, it would be like the transfer of power to actions that somebody can do to be financially healthy or financially independent. So when you are financially empowered, that means that you are in control of your financial situation, not the other way around. As you know, sometimes people don't know how much comes in, how much goes out, and it's just like a little crazy way to try to manage your finances. So it's really, really important to take action to be financially empowered by taking the correct actions, right? And that why is your personal finances very, very important as well for business owners? I think it's rare that you would have a successful business if your personal finances are not in the right place, right? Because, for example, when you start, usually people use their own credit history or credit scoring to start their business, right? So if you don't have a healthy credit scoring or history, it will be difficult that you will transfer that to your business, or difficult if you're going to get a borrow money or something if you don't have a healthy credit history. So you need to make sure that your personal credit scoring and history will drive you to having the ability to borrow money for your business, even though then in the future, after you have had your business for a while, you will be able to have your own credit history as a business. So yes, you should reinvest profits back into your business as you start making money, but not at the expense of paying yourself or planning for retirement. So remember, pay yourself first to make sure that you're not going to be in a terrible situation while your business is thriving, right? You are like the chicken of the golden eggs, as they say. So you need to make sure both things are doing well, you and your business. And a recommendation that we do is that you probably will want to have at least 6 months of income in savings for, volatile sales cycles, or if something happens, if you lose a major client or something. So as a person, but also as a business owner, it's good that you have this cushion, as we call it sometimes, with a way, so you have a way to pay for your expenses if something happens, right? And remember, if your personal finances are in order, that's when you can definitely focus on your business. So it's going to be difficult the other way around. So some key components in financial empowerment would be knowledge, action, access, and influences. So what influence your decisions? So in knowledge, what you know about positive management, what do you know? Sometimes people have some preconceptions about money or how to earn money or how to spend money. And then action, what do you do with that knowledge? Do you just say, oh yeah, I know I should do this, but I don't do it? That's not going to help. And then access, so availability to using the appropriate financial products and services. There are so many out there for different needs, for different people, for people that are in different places in their financial growth and as a business owner, as a person. And then influences. So what are the factors that contribute to you, how you manage your money, your beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors? So it's really important to find what are the best products are there, or the first alternatives are there. So for example, access to financial products, that means access to bank accounts, after to having card products or payment cards. When I say payment cards, keep in mind that I'm talking about either credit, debit, or prepaid cards. Okay, not all cards are credit. That's something we're going to talk about as well. Also, there's secure and unsecure payment cards, or secure and unsecure loans or lines of credit. Also, budgeting and savings. What are the alternatives or resources and tools that some banks provide you with to be able to budget for your expenses, etc., and for saving as well. And as we mentioned before, your credit history and scoring, which is so important, especially in this country. That's going to determine a lot of things for your future. So how do you create and maintain a healthy financial habits for your business? Well, the first thing I would say is separate your personal and business finances. Yeah, we understand that sometimes that's the only way for us to start, but as soon as you have the opportunity, make sure that you separate the two things, right? Because your personal credit history or your debt is going to have an impact to the business loans that you can get or the lines of credit you will have access to, the insurance rates, all of that. So ideally, you can have a business checking account separate from your personal account. So that's really, really important to have one in under the name of your business, and also maintain separate records for your personal and your business needs. Remember, two different things. And the records are going to be so important for when the tax period comes in, and you're going to have to to present everything you need to properly present your the taxes for your business. And also make sure that you have a budget and to know what comes in and what goes out, not only for your personal finances but also for your business. So you need to make sure that you have totally in control all of those two things. Otherwise, that's when unexpected expenses or things that you didn't accounted for are going to be totally out, right? Also, emergencies, unexpected things are always there. There's no way to really protect ourselves from that. However, there's things that we can do, like planning ahead and just in case. First, like the cushion that I mentioned to you, but also think about your business and understand what's your core business, what's your core customers, and identify if there's different cycles or when you sell more, when you sell less, and what would be the impact if your major client would just go somewhere else, God forbid. But sometimes it has happened to businesses that they don't plan to have a program in place right away in case something like that happened, losing a major client. Or also, calculate the cash you would need, the money you would need to have if there is a major disruption, like something we saw when the pandemic. Many people didn't imagine that this was going to happen and how long it was going to take to go away and all of that. So there were many reasons why many businesses didn't make it through, and this could have been one of them. The financial cushion, we talk about it. So you calculate your operating costs for 6 months and make sure that you, as soon as you can, get to the goal of having that amount in saving just in case. And if you cannot do it for 6 months right away, try to do it with a month or 3 months as much as you can. Keep up to date your financial records, and just it's going to be needed for, let's say you need to ask for a loan or access to credit, something like that. You will always need to present some documentation. So make sure that you have everything, properly recorded and under control. And also ensure that you have access to cash in case there's an emergency. Sometimes people use like a credit card or a line of credit that can, help you in that moment. But if you have some savings, that definitely can help you during an emergency, and it's not gonna, put everything in a terrible situation. You don't want to be there. So let's talk about digital enablement and electronic payments. So why is that important? Having a digital presence definitely is the most important thing, because how are going to people know who you are, what you do, what you sell, what's the story of your business, and things that make people feel more compelled to buy your goods or services, right? So it's important having a digital presence, but it's not only having your company online just for information. It's really, really important also that that digital presence include your ability to sell online your goods and services. Obviously, it will depend what you sell and how you sell it and all of that, but it's important to provide that ability to your customers. Just in 2020, 80% of customers shopped online globally, and 79% of consumers in 2021 reported shopping from their phone, in addition to to buying things in their computer. So most people will check what the business is about, if they have good reputation, if they have good reviews, etc. And unfortunately, still around 36% of small businesses don't have a website. And there's another big percentage of those that do have a website, but they do not provide the convenience to their customers or potential customers to buy their, things, goods and services online. Just imagine everything that happened during COVID. So for those that didn't have a digital presence, they were like inexistent. Or for those that had a presence, but they didn't accept payment cards or electronic payments, they were not able to continue selling their goods and services. So what was the point of that, right? If you totally were like not selling anything. So talking about accepting electronic payments, so now it's beyond just accepting payment cards. There's so much around digital payments. Things have evolved, and technology continues to evolve every day, and affecting the way we use our money and the way merchants need to be prepared to take different sales from their customers, right? So it can be, browser based when you buy online, or it can be with an app purchases on in store, which is the most common for everybody, checkout, or using a QR code, or in-person payments. We're not saying that it has to be 100% in electronic payments, even though the world, that's where we're going. However, you need to provide the convenience and the opportunity for your customers to be able to buy your goods and services wherever they are, at whatever time, in whichever way they prefer to buy things. Everybody, it's almost everybody's connected these days, and that continues to grow really, really fast around the world. So shopping everywhere and anytime from whatever you want continues to be the most important thing for people to buy things. So as a business owner, more than ever these days, it's important to understand the benefits of electronic payments. I mentioned briefly with COVID, those businesses that were able to continue selling during COVID and delivering things, etc., were able to stand strong and continue their business. But others, it was just like those like, oh, cash is king and cash is the best way, and I sell only in cash. Many of those disappear. And being enabled to accept electronic payments, it has so many benefits, and here we're listing a few of them, like increased revenue. Why? Because you're enabling new sales channels. If you're a cash only business, you are expecting your customers or potential customers to come in person to you with enough cash in their purse. So they won't be able to, have the freedom to buy whatever they want, because if they only have cash. And so enabling new channels means that you will be able to sell in person, over the phone, online, in other countries, in other cities, in many different places, not only face to face, right? So that increase as well your sales, because usually customers spend more when they are using payment cards, because they have more availability of funds. Also, you are offering your customers a better purchase experience, because you're giving them the chance, not limiting them just, oh, sorry, it's cash, that's it. I don't have any cash. Well, just find an ATM, pay the bill and come back when you have cash. That's not a good customer experience. And also that helps make your transactions more efficient and more secure if you're working with the processor. And we're going to talk more about that, because you're going to have a report from anything that is happening with your store, like how much you sell, which did you sell, all of those good things. And as I mentioned before, you're providing your consumers to pay in whatever form of payment they prefer, from whatever they want to do it at whatever time. So it's improving also your operational efficiency, helps with your cash flow, because with electronic payments, usually you are reimbursed for the sales that you did, either that same day that money goes into your account, or the next day, depending on the processor you're using. And sometimes you're buying from your vendors and you have more time to pay them, right? So that helps a little bit your cash flow. So electronic payments provide you, through the processors or acquiring banks that you're working with, the immediate, accurate, and transparent accounting. Because if you're a cash only customer, so what do you do at the end of the day? You need to close your shop and start, counting the money, all the risk that you can be target to being robbed when people know that you are a cash only store or business. They know that you're going to have cash all the time. So there's so many inconvenience and challenges and risk when it's only cash. And since COVID, definitely people had to adapt to customer needs, like online sales and contactless, which was a big thing. Contactless, that's something that grew tremendously during and after COVID, because people didn't feel comfortable when things are starting opening up to give their card to anybody. So a clerk or, the cashier or anything. It was just like, okay, where do I need to tap my card? Boom. And from a distance, the transaction was completed. So it's important, as well as recurring payments. Somebody that uses only cash cannot be a good customer for you with recurring payments, which is another way that you secure the loyalty and recurrence of your customers, right? Also, when there were like subsidies and stimulus funds, benefits that were brought to some businesses, they needed to have that connectivity to receive a lot of these things, and also to be able to talk about the revenue, the size of their business, the amount of sales they had, etc. And that's something that obviously with cash and checks you cannot do. Or you can say, yeah, I sold this amount, but that there isn't really like a valid document, I would say, that gives exactly to the cent how much you sell, and you have the bank account to show. And also that would be that was something really helpful for your access to lines of credit and to grow your business, because you can totally show how things are going in your store. So talking about the values of electronic payments to you, it's offers a lot more sometimes for startups or small businesses that to compete with larger businesses, because larger businesses, it's you have the administration department and you have the payments department and you have this, you have that. When you're a small business owner, sometimes like the solopreneur, is like you have to do everything. So electronic payments definitely help you in terms of automating everything instead of having to do everything manually. But accepting electronic payments impacts your business in different ways. But here we're going to quickly talk about 3 ways in which it's being impacted. And again, think about the cash only or the cash and checks person that is managing their business like that. So from a brand and marketing. So when potential customers see that you accept electronic payments, it definitely sends a message that you are established business with legitimate business practices, etc. You have mainstream financial practices, that you provide the convenience to your customers, that's important to, for them to pay in any way they can. Very different than when you say, oh no, I'm cash only, so you figure it out how to come back and pay me, right? That's not a good thing. I am one of the people that I go to a store and they say cash only, I go to another place because it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you don't know if you need to return something and you go back and there's nobody there anymore. The store doesn't exist, or if it exists, they say, "Oh no, sorry, I don't do returns or anything." So you are not protected as a customer at all. So I prefer not to deal with cash only customers. Excuse me, merchants. From a customer service perspective, the greatest strength that you have as a small business is your products and services, but the relationship with your customers is the most important thing. So at least, with electronic payments, you have more time to focus on that, and you have more information to determine, the trends, what people are buying or not buying, what's happening, etc. And you have more time and energy to focus on the relationships or developing new things that you are seeing that your customers want. And also financial health, definitely. And people do. There's research that shows that people with electronic payments make larger purchases. At some point, it was 16% bigger ticket, or meaning like for each purchase, it was 16% bigger. I think that number is higher these days. Also, you have a guaranteed payment. You don't need to wait for a check to clear or things like those. A better cash flow, as I mentioned before, and also enabling recurring payments. So automatic accounting and record keeping, which is so important these days. So as I mentioned before, not all payment cards are credit cards, right? The payment card has been evolving and improving through the years. At the beginning, we only had credit cards, but then we realized that not everybody was eligible for a credit card, or not everybody was responsible enough. And that's why some people say, oh, no, I don't want to hear about credit cards because, credit cards get you into debt. Like if the car went by itself to the mall, right? So easier to blame the card than your behavior with the card. So then there came the debit cards, right? Which is your own money in a bank account. So you can only get a debit card if you have a bank account, obviously. And it's a very good tool to access the money that you have in your account. And many people prefer to use their own money to pay for things instead of having the flexibility of a credit card, especially when they think, oh no, I'm going to get crazy with a credit card, right? So, and then prepaid cards. And remember, when I say prepaid cards, I'm not talking about gift cards. Those gift cards that you go to a store and you buy like a $20 gift card for somebody, because those you spend the $20 and then they're gone. You can throw it in the garbage and that's it. No, I'm talking about reloadable prepaid cards. There are many different alternatives of reloadable prepaid cards, but the basic premise is that it's your own money, which is loaded into a payment card, and you can use it for any payments that you can do online, or recurrent payments like a Netflix kind of account. There's a lot of things that you need a card for that you cannot do with cash, like the Netflix example for that I just mentioned. So and we put them next to each other, and recommend for people to think about, okay, what's the difference? Think about the money, where the money is coming from. So a prepaid card is your own money loaded into a payment card. The debit card is your own money that is in a bank account and gives you the opportunity to pay everywhere cards are accepted with that debit card and is deducted directly from your bank account. Or you can go to an ATM and get cash if you need it for anything. And then credit is not your money. It's the money you're borrowing from a bank, the bank that issued the card that you're having. And your credit limit will be determined based on your credit history, right? And especially the interest rate, which is also something that Mastercard does not set up. The banks will set up the type of interest rate you're going to have for that credit card that they issued for you based on your credit history. The highest your credit score, the lower your interest rate will be, because that it's telling them how responsible and how safe you are as a client. So we heard in some research we did some years ago that many merchants wanted to start, making things more, easier and more convenient by accepting payment cards. However, they thought it was very complicated, that it was too expensive, that it was, something very difficult to do. They didn't know where to start. So that's when we developed for our financial education program, Master Your Card, which is that Jimmy and I managed for Mastercard the last 10 years. We developed the education for knowing how to start, what to do, how to prepare yourself to select a processor that is going to help you process your payment transactions, your payment card transactions. And there isn't different kinds of processors for transactions. These are called acquiring banks, as I mentioned a couple of times. So those can be like, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, HSBC, Citi, Chase. Those big banks also have the capability of being acquiring banks. Usually bigger businesses or merchants are the ones that use this big acquiring banks. When there's a smaller merchants, they tend to use other types of acquiring banks, but processors, and that will be determined by what you sell and how, if it's face to face, if it's online only, etc., etc. So here, just high level to give you an idea of acquiring banks. Some have like in-house payment processing and other, services that are broader for merchants to process all their transactions. Then the ISOs, or independent sales organizations, also they support smaller business accounts, but they contract with third-party providers, the TPPs, to ensure that they are providing smaller businesses a more customized service, which is not what happens with acquiring banks if you have a small business, right? Then the third-party processors, they also focus mostly on larger merchants, and they provide tons of different services as well. And they work like business-to-business environment between the businesses and the acquiring banks. So they are like an intermediary. But also there's the internet payment providers, and those would be like PayPal, like Stripe, Amazon Payments. Let me see some other names, WePay, etc. And those would be more for people, that only will sell online. Real important, and that would be probably like Square. I'm sure, many of you have heard Square. That's another processor that provides you with this little device that is super convenient, especially for people that sell their goods and services in let's say a market somewhere, things like those. So how do you prepare before selecting a processor? You need to think about, what do you sell, to whom, and how. Is it face-to-face? Is it only online? How big your transactions are. Let's say you're an artist and you only sell like very expensive paintings. That's a different story that if you do muffins or jewelry, things like those. What's your monthly volume, and what's your business history and your sales process and your model? How do you make money with your business? All of that you need to be very clear, because that's one of the things that will determine the kind of processor you're going to need and the pricing you are going to be able to negotiate. Remember, you shouldn't go just with the first processor that came to you when you operate your business. There's an array of different alternatives. But how do you find a processing partner? Well, you can start with the bank. We talk about having your business account in a bank, so you can talk to your bank and say, hey, do you do acquiring services? Do you process electronic payments transactions for merchants? I would like to have information about that. Right. Also, you can ask friends or associates that also have businesses. So who do you work with, or how many How many alternatives did you explore before choosing the processor that you have today? Or also there's like business groups or associations that provide solutions. Sometimes chambers of commerce have very good information about processors that help some of the merchants. So important to ask around. And here are some. We're not going to go for sake of time to all of them, but there's 5 sets of questions on what to ask yourself before signing a contract. Let's say you know everything about your business and you are ready to educate potential processors. But so then what do you need to make sure before signing any contract, or what questions you need to ask them? The previous ones were they will be asking you, but this would be you asking them. So who are they? Do they have, they do the processing themselves or they outsource it? The reputation, will you have a contact person, or what kind of service will you have if it's 24/7? Also the fees, how the fees are going to work, what's the term? Can it be changed, the pricing? Sometimes the pricing changes based on how safe your business is, or if you are a business that has a history of having a lot of fraud, or not really, doing the payments accurately the way it has to be, or is there a monthly or annual fee? So you need to ask all the questions about fees, how they calculate everything. Then technology, what kind of technology do they use, hardware and software as well? Is it easier or cheaper for you to buy, let's say, the terminal, or is it better if you rent it from them? So, if you want to lease it, or is it appropriate for your business? The most important thing these days is to be up to speed with accepting chip cards, accepting, tap and go technologies, or, QR codes, everything. But not all of those are going to be the best alternative for your business. So you need to ask about this as well. Also, what about flexibility? What if you realize that this processor is not the best for you and you want to change? Well, you need to ask about the contract. How do you break the contract? Is this, are there penalties for early termination, or can you renegotiate your fees every 6 months, or 3 months, or whatever the term is? And if you need new technology, let's say there are things changing. So are they going to bring this right away to you for the same contract price, or do you need to pay more? How does that work? And all the help that I mentioned to you. You need to have all the support that you need 24/7. If there's like fraud, or if there's like something hacking or anything, you need to know where to go and what to do. And some additional questions like, the startup time, equipment sales and support, required documentation, risk assessment and focus, the point of contact, supporting, if you need to fight chargebacks, which is when somebody buys something and then suddenly they say that it didn't work, or they didn't receive it if you sent it, things like those. You need to have support as well when a customer is going to try to return something or do a chargeback. And just additional questions here. And other recommendations. So look for professionalism and knowledge, the background of the company, time spent and quality of their responses. Remember, many of these companies sometimes have like this little used car sales routine. Just beware, be careful that you're getting all the answers that you need, and they are not just like pushing you to sign a contract right away. Marketing materials as well, statements, and an explanation of everything that is in your statement, really important. And just, be aware of things that happen out there. If they're trying to avoid giving you quotes in writing, that's not a good thing, or hidden or conditional fees. Also, they need to be clear and transparent, and or misleading advertisement. That's something that should give you like a red flag. And negotiate. Just compare different companies, and also try not to pay extra fees, look at their penalties, as I said, and consider the timeliness. Sometimes if you do like a longer contract, it might be cheaper, but also you need to see, well, okay, a longer contract, cheaper, but what if I want to change the contract at some point? And, there's additional resources. There's a whole website within Mastercard.com that is dedicated to small business owners. So there's all kinds of different information of the partners that Mastercard has negotiated special rates and in volume to be able for you to get the discounts, business solutions, and to start accepting payment cards. There's even a list of potential processors. Mastercard does not endorse, as I mentioned at the beginning, we do not do processing, but we do not endorse any particular acquiring bank or processor, but we can give you a list, and then you check by your area where you live and what state or what city, and there's some alternatives for you to check out. And safety and security, the most important thing to learn, to be able, that's a responsibility for everybody. Is not only for the companies that are behind that, ensuring that all systems are safe, like Mastercard, or the processors and the banks and all of that, but we all have a role to play here, because if everything is happening and you are not taking the precautions that you need in your business, that's a problem. I'm sure you have heard, that this big merchant, they were hacked and something happened. But believe me, I'm sure there must be the story behind it somewhere written, and which were the mistakes and the lack of accuracy in processing certain things or maintaining the information of their customers as safe as it should be. And that's when things happen. So we need to learn about all these things.
If you want to keep up with everything that Mastercard is doing on small business, there's the Be a Boss online sign up with that QR code. And then I think we have a slide to get you to your Our Village United Digital Doors site and the email address if you have questions afterward that you'd like to send us that you're thinking about. I should mention the small business site that Mercedes pointed out toward the end of her slides. That is a really good resource, but it is for Mastercard cardholders. And so everything available on the Our Village United Digital Doors site is available whether you have a Mastercard or not. We would love for you to all be Mastercard cardholders, but it's not necessary to take advantage of the partners and offers that are there. Mastercard holder through Bank of America, I can log into the Mastercard site separately from B of A. That's a great question. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you go to if it's to get information about all the tools that I mentioned that Mastercard has, yes, just go mastercard.com, go to the small business section, and there's hundreds of resources there. And it doesn't matter if you are a cardholder or not, or which bank you work with, has nothing to do with that. This is general information to support small business owners.
I will say that the bank that you bank with it usually determines your benefits, either as a consumer or a small business cardholder. That's right, guys? Like there's many similar benefits across banks, but some banks provide extra benefits. 4 types of processors was the most helpful. That's great to hear. Yeah, that's really good information. Yvonne has a good question about advanced financing options. How do you apply for business cards with an EIN versus an SSN? I don't want to be evasive on that one, but I think a lot of that depends on your bank and the card issuer, right? So we don't set that criteria. We can certainly inform based on best practices. But
each bank has their own rules in terms of what requirements they have for personal cards or for business cards for merchants, for companies.
An anonymous feedback was that the information is basic. Totally get that. You know, your businesses are at different levels in this program. So appreciate the honesty. And yes, the future sessions are going to go deeper on specific topics, whether it's cybersecurity, the digital marketing one we talked about, retail readiness. So I think there's something for everyone in these sessions. And I think we are almost at time, unless there's anything.
Yeah, there's one more, Colleen.
Yep.
Who determines the 10% back program for business?
10% back program.
Yeah,
Sorry,
what exactly is that? 10% what back?
like cash back, you mean, those types of incentives? If that's what, usually those benefits are determined by your lender, by a bank.
By the banks, yeah.
So it's their policy as to, so our pipes, if you will, implement and execute those programs.
Yeah, they
But-
determine the features and benefits that the cards that they issue will have. And Drea, same thing here. Mastercard business accounts are not tied to any particular, bank or something. We provide the franchise to banks that comply with all the requirements to be an issuer of Mastercard. And Visa does the same thing. There, as I'm sure you have seen, there's banks that issue Visa card or Mastercard cards. They determine the features and benefits, and also they determine if they issue both cards. Many are dual issuers. So no, we're not tied to anybody. We just develop the types of cards or the types of programs and additional benefits, sometimes like the ones we talked about that are available to you. But then the banks that are the ones that are going to have the direct relationship with the person or the business, for in the case of business cards, they are the ones that determine everything.
Right.
So nothing with
And
Dun
so
and
we're
Bradstreet.
just the pipes. Although it is a really interesting point about Dun & Bradstreet. We've been talking that there's really a need, knowing that many small business owners like yourselves have to start with personal credit, right? Because that's what your base is. What's the inflection point? What's the turning point to establish a Dun & Bradstreet profile to be able to get larger business credit? So for those of you that have experience in that area already, please help your classmates with that, your cohort members, and we'd love to talk more about that, because I think it's a very under-addressed area of capital access for small businesses.
Yeah.
I
guess we are
we're at
already on time. So from me, thank you so much for taking the time. I think this was interesting to you, either to reinforce your knowledge or to learn a few new things. As you can see, there's a lot of additional topics. So wishing you the best, and any questions or something, you can always, reach us, and we'll be happy to respond.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
And thank you, Colleen,
Mercedes
for
and
having Jimmy and I.
Yeah, thanks everyone for giving us an hour of your time today.